Osho has this really beautiful quote where he says that aloneness is your ultimate state, and loneliness... Osho has this really beautiful quote where he says that aloneness is the ultimate nature of yourself, and loneliness is how your ego misinterprets that nature through its finite frame of reference. Something similar can be said about meaninglessness. It seems as if emptiness is the ultimate nature of the self, but meaninglessness, nihilism, is how the ego misinterprets that. I was having a conversation with somebody on this channel the other day where they brought up this sense of meaninglessness. It seemed as if there was this intuition that every understanding the lower mind thinks it can grab hold to, every fleeting experience of pleasure and pain that the lower emotions cling on to, every temporary state that the body seems to occupy, because it all occurs in this toy box of relativity, it's all bound to crumble away eventually, because it was only a distortion of the universal, of truth. And yet that's only half of the understanding that's necessary here. Because yes, it is true that from the perspective of relativity, everything is empty. Everything is meaningless in that sense. Every aim that you have, whether it's a career aim, some life ambition, some relationship that you think is going to bring you fulfillment, there is a real futility in that. Because of all of it is only just approaching what is this all-encompassing unconditional love that you are. And yet to stop there, to stop at this recognition of meaninglessness, is just to sell yourself short. And it's a trap that a lot of contemporary spiritual seekers fall into, where they look at this entire playground that they've created for themselves, this shifting vibratory field of these kaleidoscopic energies all coming into their awareness. And then they just reject all of it because they say, it's all empty, it's all meaningless, it's all void of purpose, and therefore life is just this sad nothingness. And last year, I remember, after a breakup, actually, when I was feeling particularly lonely, meaninglessness and nihilism was a theme that came up a lot. And I was so desperate to push away that nihilism, right? I was so desperate to try to find meaning in things, to find meaning in spiritual understanding and relationships and professional opportunities and all of those things. And then it just dawned on me, yes, emptiness is the nature of the self. And yet all of this isn't merely emptiness. It's emptiness dancing. It's emptiness creating a song that we as seemingly limited individuals are composing moment by moment through our intention and our attention, through the energy that we are choosing to bring into the world, and through what we are choosing to focus on in our day-to-day lives. And if you allow this kind of roundabout mental masturbation of nihilism to occur in your head over and over and over again, the world's going to feel very meaningless to you. It's going to feel pointless. Because that's what you're choosing to pay attention to. You're choosing to indulge in this delusion that all of this is just here for nothing at all. That all of it is completely worthless, and that you're helpless to that worthlessness. And the truth is that even though there is a kind of worthlessness in the symbols themselves, there is still profound substance that you can experience in your day-to-day life. Think about your relationships, for instance. There is a recognition that everything is the same self, right? That there is no such thing as a relationship because there are no two separate entities to engage in a relationship together. And yet, as humans, there is still a profound impulse to enter relationships, right? We have romantic relationships, friendships, family members. We want to be parts of our community. You can also think about art, right? Art is entirely meaningless. Art is incredibly abstract, even very realistic art, right? It's just a collection of symbols that we filter through this frame of reference of, our thinking minds and our lower hearts. But art itself is the meaning of it is self-evident, right? You find the meaning of art in the creation of art, in the communion that comes when you share that art with other people, in the kaleidoscope of shifting energies that you experience as you walk around and exhibit, and you find yourself utterly at awe with the creativity that people have, the deep love and care and wisdom that they put in paintings and photographs and sculptures and whatever else it is. And you are an artist. Even if you're not drawing or making music or whatever, you are creating an entire odyssey for yourself. You are living a walking epic from moment to moment. And you find that there are so many ups and downs to your life. There are all these little contours of your being that are exposed as you go about your day-to-day experience. If you can really open yourself to life, you will be so surprised at how many multitudes you contain and how deep this human vehicle that you occupy goes, and how high and how mighty your love is, your joy for God is, and how good it feels to express that love to other people. You didn't come here to just sit and wallow in nihilism, right? You didn't come here to infinitely process the same memories over and over and over again. You came here to experience serious difficulty, perhaps horrible situations in your inner and outer life. You came here to experience the illusion of separation from God, so that returning to the home that you never left feels just that much sweeter. You came here so you could gain a deep, profound, all-encompassing appreciation for what is. And what is not nihilistic. What is not purposeless. What isn't even meaningless, because the meaning of it is self-evident. The meaning of it is simply in its own being. And to understand that, you can't try to approach it through the thinking mind or through the lower emotions, but instead you have to just sit with your openness. If you feel nihilism when you engage on the spiritual path, don't run away from that nihilism. And don't try to think your way through it by constantly repeating it's nihilistic, life sucks, like yada, yada, yada. Just allow yourself to sit with that blunt, solid, almost dead sense of existential dread. Allow it to burn through every fiber of your being. Allow yourself to die to it. And you'll see. You'll see how you metamorphosize. And it's not something that you can really understand with the mind. You can talk about it and you can phrase it in spiritual understandings, and you can create very interesting metaphysics and all these different little maps, seemingly, of your consciousness. But really, you and I both know full well that there is a magic about this world that you simply do not understand, because it is higher than the human vehicle through which you are listening to these words, through which you are approaching spiritual practice. Your job is not to try and shy away from the human vehicle. Your job is to use the human vehicle and all its suffering, all of its existential dread, all of its pain, all of its fear, all of its doubt, all of its people-pleasing, to transmute that energy, to gain an appreciation for something deeper, for real substance. Aloneness is your nature. Loneliness is how you misinterpret it. You misinterpret aloneness as loneliness, so that you can enter all of these different relationships. Relationships which are like these pressure cookers for all of your different karmic attachments. Relationships which, through the existence of the relationship itself, shows you what the only relationship actually is. the non-relationship between separation and unity, the infinitesimally small space between yourself and yourself, between here and the inevitable. You enter relationships to show yourself a deep fulfillment that even though it might have been uncovered by the relationship, or it might have been uncovered by the spiritual practice, or it might have been uncovered by the professional opportunity or whatever it is, the whole point of those symbols is to show you that you don't need those symbols. The whole purpose of relationships is to give you and the other party tools in your inner life that you can come back to again and again and again. Don't stress. Every moment you spend on this earth, it's like you're developing this internal medicine cabinet, right? And as you go about your day-to-day life and you find all of these different ways that you're still kind of influenced by the content of your experience, through spiritual practice, through relationships, and through confronting existential dread and emptiness, you now see all of these different ways that you can ground yourself, that you can come back to what is. It's empty, but it has to be empty. If separation was real, if you really were a body dependent on eating food, making money, and getting married and having a house and a car and whatever to be happy, imagine how horrible it would be if you didn't get those things. Or that relationship that you thought you needed, that breakup that was so traumatic to you, that you felt like you could never recover from. Imagine what kind of hell it would be if you actually needed that one symbol to be happy. Really think about how absurd it is, right? Even the symbol of spirituality, all that is a collection of concepts that you use to scaffold to higher and ultimately deeper levels of understanding. You don't need any of those symbols. The symbols are nice, and the symbols are often reflections of very pleasant inner states. But the symbols are really what's empty. The symbols are really the thing that's meaningless. But the substance is anything but. Because it is buzzing with life and love and laughter and joy and care and compassion. Really, like, we all forget how much of a miracle it is that we are alive. And not just that we are alive, but that we are lucky enough to have chosen to incarnate on a planet that is absolutely teeming with life. So much of it. Everywhere you look. So at the expense of repeating myself, emptiness is your nature. Nihilism is how you misunderstand it. You're not just emptiness. You're emptiness dancing. And if you feel empty inside as you approach spirituality, that's a good thing. It means that you are experiencing a death of all the ways that you thought you were separate or incapable or unwhole or unholy. A death of all of your attachments to symbols, even to the symbol of meaning itself. Because even meaning, even reason, even those things have to go away. Even those things aren't enough. Because it's just what is. It's silence, and it is a deafening silence. It's a love that swallows you whole. It swallows you whole. Really, it does. That you can trust. I have a website, truthandeverything.org. I do tarot readings, one-on-one calls, written inquiries, all sorts of stuff. That's the plug. Thank you.